Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to another episode of Intuitive Creator Spotlight. I am Stella, your host, and today I have here with me Mona. She is a guide in the field of holistic end-of-life care. Mona's unique journey has led her on this path, and she is now embracing the holistic approach to death. And with that, she is challenging really traditional views, and she is paving the way for a more compassionate and peaceful transition to those who are at the end of life. I am so honored to have Mona here with us. She is a death doula, and she's also a founder of Sacred Dying in South Africa. Hi, Mona. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hi, Stella, and I'm so blessed to be here to answer the questions you have and to share the role of a death doula.
I was so looking forward to this interview because this is a topic that not many people talk about. It is something that can be taboo in different areas on this globe. So I'm very honored to have you here with us. So let me ask you this. Can you share with us what inspired you to pursue a career as a death doula and as an advocate for holistic end-of-life care?
Okay, I went through a lot of loss. There were just a lot of family members that were dying. I lost two sisters within 5 years of each other, both to cancer. Then my mom also got sick, and I looked after her. I nursed her for the last year of her life. And I was with her when she died, and I dressed her body and prepared her for before we even got the funeral parlor to come and take her. And then my brother-in-law died, and I said to my husband that morning, "We've got to get to them quickly because I just feel something is going to happen today." And um, during a chat that I had with his daughter, he was actively dying when we got there, and she said to me, "Why don't you become a death doula?" And I said to her, "What is a death doula?" I had no idea what it was. So, in any case, Ron died, and he died peacefully, and came home, and this death doula thing was just on my mind all the time, and I Googled it, and there were just so many things coming up, but nothing in South Africa. It was all in other places, other countries, and I just knew that I had to find out more. So I enrolled. I did 2 online courses on death doula work, and when I was finished after about 6 months of studying, I sat back and I thought, what now? I'm a death doula. What do I do? You can't go knocking on people's doors and say, "Sorry, is there anybody dying here that I can maybe come and help?" As you said, talking about death, even talking within the family circle about death, they would quickly want to change the subject because it's almost like the big C word. If you talk about cancer, people are scared that they might get it, so they don't talk about it. And I find the same with death. People think, "Oh, if you're talking about death, then maybe I'm going to die. So let's just avoid the topic altogether." And then I got a message from the universe. It was one of those little pop-up messages. I always like to say, you've got mail messages that it's not your own thoughts. It's spirit that is speaking to you. And the message was loud and clear: "You're going to write a death doula course for South Africans." And I said, "Oh, yes, I don't think so." And after a couple of days, I sat in front of my computer and I put it on open word and I typed "Sacred Dying, South Africa, embracing the end of life." And that is where my journey started as a death doula.
Wow, and how beautiful that you listened to that guidance and that you listened to the message from that person who said, why don't you become a death doula? I find that sometimes you just have these beautiful people around you, like messengers that are
Yes.
transmitting this message to you. And then, especially when it's something that you've never heard about before and it continues to stay in your mind, you want to kind of process the information and see what is there for you when it comes to this subject. Before you stepped into this journey of learning about what Death Doula is and then creating your own course, what were some of the things that you've done in your life, maybe in your career or just being with people, helping them? What is something that you always enjoyed doing?
I've always been very drawn to helping people. I studied life coaching and stress management, and then I went on to reflexology and Reiki and all the natural, the more holistic type treatments. And I had what can we call it, like a little healing therapy room where people used to come and I would do a complete um, I'm trying to think of the word. Okay, I cannot think of the word right now. But we would have the person on the bed.
Mhm.
I say we because I would work with their guides and with the angels and ancestors and whoever showed up during the time of the treatment. And that's the word I was looking for, treatment. And I would use color therapy because I'm also a color therapist. So I would use color therapy and crystals and Reiki and reflexology and a lot of intuition as well because I would sit at the feet of the people and I would only work on their feet and the energy would just become so intense. And sometimes I would get messages to give the people and I would say, I can't tell them that. Early stages, you don't trust whether it's you or just. So in any case, there was some extreme messages that came through, and the people would say to me, "How did you know that?" And I said, "Because spirit told me, or otherwise I had seen a spirit guide, at the head of the bed, and they were working on you and things like that." So yes, I've always been what people might call a little bit crazy. I'm not normal. I don't want to be normal. I love the things I'm doing, and I love the more holistic approach to life. I think it takes us out of boxes.
Mhm.
We don't put in little boxes that is the normal way, because if you tell me it's normal, I don't want to do it. Um, Also, another thing, if people they say that this is the way it should be, I want to know who they are. Because unless you can give me a name, I am not interested in what you've got to say. So I also like to hear the truth of behind what is being said. And I think I'm pretty open to hearing that and to connecting with that nature of things.
And that tells a lot about your energy and who you are on a soul level, and that you are open to learning the truth from other people as well, what they perceive as truth. And
Mm.
that's what helps us grow in life as well, because we learn so much from each other. And
Mm.
all we're doing is walking each other home, as Ramdas says. And I love this saying. I really do, because that's what we really do. We share each other's gifts. And this, if I imagine it at an energetic level, it's like we are all sitting at the table and bringing our energetic gifts to the table, and then we are growing like that together. And I love that you mentioned this. So you know how you said that as you are working with these people who are coming to you, and you are at their feet and you're connecting with their energy and spirit guides. And I can relate to the fact that at the beginning is like, what is happening? Like,
Yes.
what kind of message is this? But then as you continue to work with it, you realize that there is some sort of a channel that you are tuning into, or you're opening up the channel, or you're picking up the information from somewhere, a divine guidance.
Mm.
Would you say that this continued, or amplified as you stepped into the role of a death doula? You connecting with these people's spirit guides?
Yes. I'm just trying to think. Sacred Dying was launched on the 1st of July 2019. And prior to that, let's go back to 2016, towards the end of 2016. Again, Spirit said to me that your time of working with people as you have been is coming to an end, and you will be going into a new chapter. And I wasn't aware of what that new chapter would be yet. So come the beginning of 2017, 2019, I'm getting myself confused. When the doula work came up, I knew immediately this is where Spirit was taking me to. And that was after I had processed the message that you will write the Death Doula course for South Africa, because I'm not a writer. I can talk, I love talking, but please don't ask me to write and put words on a piece of paper, because I will sit for ages trying to think of what to say. And once I had started the course, I would spend the whole day, hours in front of the computer, and I would go to bed that night not knowing what I had written, where I had got the information from. I Googled, I read from my books, and that is how Spirit worked with me. So let's just go back to my brother-in-law, because he also, I stood at the head of the bed where he was lying, and I put my hands on his crown chakra, and I just said to him, just release, let go, not even verbally. It was just as I touched his head, and he passed away within a half an hour. So this is the beauty of it. You don't have to. Some people will not like it. Some people will say that's not our religion or our faith does not allow us to use alternative therapies and whatever. So you don't have to tell them that you're doing it. You can just quietly stand by the person. The soul knows what it needs to do. The person is the body, is the vessel, is going to be left behind. It's an empty vessel for the loved ones to take care of and honor when they lay it to rest, whether it be cremation or burial or whatever. But the soul knows what to do. So when we're working with the dying at that point, and what people don't realize is that the soul is in and out of the body. It's very busy. That's why they appear to be sleeping. It's almost like a cosmic, what can we call it? A cosmic uh, anesthetic or something that they I don't believe they feel pain at that time, because the soul has already started disconnecting from the body. So how can there be pain if the soul is not there all the time? I think I've gone off the question. I've just got so many things that I want to share. So I'm going to let you direct me back to where we're going.
It's not about a perfect answer to a question. It's about what needs to come through in this moment in time. And just like you said, the soul knows what it needs to do. It's the same with you, your heart knowing what needs to come through in this message. So thank you for sharing that. So Mona, how would you define the role of a death doula? Because you gave us this example now where, when you sat next to your brother-in-law and how you touched his, the area in his crown chakra. And that was maybe one of the first experiences of you acknowledging, maybe that's how it sounds like, that this is what you're going to do going forward. But now that you've learned a lot about it, you've created a course, how would you define the role of a death doula?
All right. The word doula is a Greek word, and it means someone who serves. So that, to me, the doula and death, it means that we serve the dying. It's just, that's bringing it back into an easier way of talking about it. So we serve people that are dying, and we give them the opportunity to die. The most important thing that I say is to die with dignity. Dignity intact. That means that even if you've been bedridden for the last 3 months, no matter what your condition is, what has led to the death, that you have dignity, that the people that are caring for you are keeping you as pain-free as possible. They're spending time with you. They're cleaning your body. They checking to see that there's no pressure points that are starting to become bed sores and things like that. And I'm now talking about home deaths. I'm not talking about hospitals, because if you go to a hospital, they will try and keep you alive. That is what hospitals do. So even if you're dying and you're in hospital and they know that you're dying, and for some reason or the other you develop, let's say, a infection, and they give you an antibiotic. What for? To prolong your life by another 2 or 3 or 4 days. Let them be, just let them die peacefully. So we're going back to the home death, and we also serve the families of the dying. So somebody said to me the one day, where do you find dying people to work with? And I said to them, you go to the living people, and they will take you to the dying people. Um, so we have to train the living people how to work with the dying people, because a lot of them don't know how to do it. It's practical things. It's easy things. My course is not technical, and that, you know, that you sit there and you think, oh my word, I would never ever be able to do this. It's just practical, and it's compassion and empathy, and um there, walking the dying person home, seeing that they are comfortably ready to leave their body. I can't express it any better than that.
Oh, thank you so much for explaining it like that. So you clearly introduced the concept of death doula in South Africa. Maybe it was somewhere, maybe some people heard of it, but you are someone who actually created a course and you are talking about it. What kind of people are attracted to this information, to the course that you created?
So many people from so many different walks of life. Um, I've I can't tell you. Also the I've had registered nurses that are in their middle 60s that have worked in hospitals for all their lives, with some with cancer patients and things like that, and they've learned so much from the course after 65 years of, not 65, let's say they started nursing at the age of 20, so maybe of over 40 or 45 years of nursing, that they've said to me, thank you for what I learned in your course, because it reminds me that I still have compassion. Or maybe I have let the nursing make me a little bit hard, and I need to be compassionate towards the dying again. Um, Dying in a state hospital or in a private hospital, or in a hospice is very clinical. Dying at home amongst your loved ones it's priceless. It is priceless. What we also do is we create a sacred space for the person that is dying, and that can be anything. If they like to go on holidays to the sea, and they like to hear the sound of the sea, we will find music to play for them, softly in the background, just of nature sounds and the sea and the waves, and we'll bring in photos, little things that they might be, like my mom, when she passed away, she was very Catholic and had a beautiful statue of Mother Mary, and I've still got it with me, and it's precious to me. So I brought that in for her and gave her rosary to hold. And although she couldn't hear me because they had to unfortunately put her into a what do we call it, a morphine coma. She was just in, you couldn't touch her body. Her organs were shutting down. She was 94 when she passed away. But I spoke to her, I sang her favorite hymns, I read out the Bible for her, and I knew that her space was what she wanted it to be. Um, and
Wow.
this is, there's going again back to people with the nurses. Okay, I sidetracked there a little bit. We've got nurses, we've got shamans that have done the course. We've got a lot of natural remedy practitioners that have done the course. There's also some very sad cases of people that I can recall three now that once they had started the course, they were diagnosed shortly after that with cancer. And incurable, it's terminal. And they say to me, why was I led to do the course? Because I was going to help other people. But now I'm doing the course because I realize I'm dying and I need to know what death is going to be like. So the course serves so many different purposes. There are so many different aspects of being a death doula. You don't necessarily have to work with dying people. You can go and educate corporate people on have you got your documents in place? If you had to die tomorrow, would your family know where they must find your last testament? We help them write up what we call an advance directive, which will have all that information. What do you want done with your Facebook page? Do you want us to delete it? What about the PIN numbers on your banking accounts? And what accounts do you have? It just makes it so much easier for the people that are left behind. So yes, we try and bring a little bit of planning ahead. I think that's a good word, planning ahead, because we never know when when our time is going to come.
That's so true.
Um, and we should be prepared for it because nobody is going to get out of this life alive. We've only got one escape route, and that is to die. So um, to be prepared for it. As I've said earlier as well, the day we're born, we start dying, and people look at me and they think, but that's crazy. It's the truth.
It is
It's
the
the truth.
truth.
The Buddhists, I think, teach that, that,
Mhm.
and also the monks, they practice what I don't know, I can't remember. I don't think I even know how to pronounce the word, but they practice a short death every day of their life to prepare themselves for it. So yes, that is another aspect of being a death doula. We don't necessarily have to be with the dying people. There's so many different things. Legacies. We have a
Mhm.
wonderful thing that we teach the doulas as well. It's called a life legacy. So let's just say a young mom has been diagnosed with some type of terminal cancer, and she's got two little children, 2 years old and 4 years old, and she knows that she's not going to be there when they get married and when they graduate and when the first grandchild is born and whatever. So death doulas will spend time and offer their services to spend time to put together a legacy project. So the mom could write a letter and put it in an envelope in a scrapbook, or maybe a little treasure box that is eventually going to be opened at the time when the time comes, and congratulate the daughter for let's say for graduating, and the son when he gets married, and so we keep their memories alive as well. There's so much. I can talk to you for 10 hours and we still will not cover all the things that a death doula can do.
You talk about all of this with so much love. And as you were describing all of these things, it was just so magical to listen to it and to imagine how someone who is at the end of their this lifetime on this planet as this name that they had, they are in the space that they love, with the people that they loved, with the things that they find familiar, memories. And more than that, everything that you've described about the example with the mom with children, it reminded me of something that I keep seeing online at the moment a lot. A story of a mom with a 7 years old son, I think, and she created a song, and she's passing all the rights to her son, who will benefit from everything that will come, as a selling of this song in the future. And when I first saw this initiative, and everybody is now sharing this song everywhere on social media, I thought this is such a beautiful thing to do. And now that you also described like so much more that can be done with passing on to your like next generations and next generations, what a magical thing to do. Because then when like we want to connect with our ancestors and tune into their gifts and what they've been through, how much easier would it be for our children and grandchildren to have something in their hand from us. So this is such a beautiful thing, and I'm so grateful you shared about this with us, Mona. Now, tell us some
Okay.
of the challenges. What kind of challenges you've encountered as you were practicing this?
Um, okay, I'm really having to think because I cannot remember that there's ever been a challenge that has not been manageable. In my personal experience with working with families and with people that are dying, but I can in the teaching, in taking it out of my teaching to the doulas that are going to go out there, I can say to them, you have to be so careful of how you work with people, how you talk to them, how you approach them, because everybody is different. We're all unique. Um, we all have different spiritual cultures and belief systems and rituals and things like that. And when you go into a family situation where there is someone dying and you are going to assist the family, there is no religion. It is a completely open space. You do not discuss religion. If your dying patient is still able to talk, or one of the family members come to you and they say, look, this is the religion we follow, and do you think we should maybe get um, a rabbi or the priest or somebody to come in? Don't ever, as a doula, don't ever push your agenda on them. A doula has got no agenda. And you must know when to step back. I actually had a lady, one of my doulas, phoning me yesterday, and she has been approached to do grief and bereavement counseling with a family with twins of 11 years old. And she said there's been quite a bit of loss in the family. But she's not a grief and bereavement counselor. So during the conversation, I said to her, this was now a friend of a friend that contacted her. And I said to her, make an arrangement to meet at a coffee shop or whatever and speak to the friend of the friend and find out a little bit more about what's going on, because we've got a whole team and network of doulas from different provinces in South Africa that we are working together in establishing a doula network or a companion network. So we've got grief counselors, and we've got soul, what do they call it, soul carers and death doulas and whatever. So we've got a whole lot of people that we can call on to. And I said to her, in this situation, because your friend has asked you, and you've got the right to say no. I'm not equipped for that. I did not learn to do bereavement counseling. And I said to her, if you go into that situation, and you don't know how to do it, it is going to be absolutely catastrophic for your mental state, because you're going to be judging yourself, you're going to get yourself all stressed up. So walk away from it. And also, sometimes the death doula might go into a family situation intuitively. We're going to talk about that as well in this little sentence. Um, and when they walk into the home and they look at, let's just say, the main caregiver, or let's use I love using stories. So the husband is the one that's dying, and the wife is the main caregiver, and she comes and she answers the door. And you look at this woman and you think, I don't like you. It's just one of those instant, I don't like you. And that could be because she reminds you subconsciously of maybe a school teacher in the early grades that was mean to you. And now the feeling is coming up. It's been associated with, you look like somebody that I know that hurt me. So you hear what I'm saying? So when
Yeah.
intuition comes like that, to say, if you're working for an agency, or if you're working for yourself as, in the doula services, to sit down, maybe have a conversation, don't be nasty to the person, but then just say, I think that I might have somebody that could handle your situation differently, or better, that I can introduce you to. So those are the challenges that a death doula will face. There's no difference in the way the person dies. If they're dying in a bed, it's going to be the same. Everyone is unique, but everyone is different, in its own way. So whether you have me as the death doula, or whether you have somebody else that comes in comes in as the death doula, you're still going to get the same service if they work in that scope of practice that they are being taught to work in. And it is such an important thing. If you don't have it, but then I will also say, if somebody phones me and says, I would like to do your course, I will never turn anybody away. Never, ever, because people are drawn to this because it is their calling.
Mm.
I can't say to you, Stella, I want to send you my course because I want to make you a death doula, if that's not what you're called to do. Some people will be horrified, they'll run away. Even at the thought of being a death doula. So yeah, yeah, I've gone off the question again, but this is how it happens.
Thank you so, so much for sharing that. Yeah, so it's like when you think about the challenges from everything that you've described, it all comes back to checking in with ourselves, and especially with everything intuitive and everything where you have to interact with that person and hold the space for that person. It has to be, how I like to say, an energetic match. If you're not an energetic match, it's very, very hard to work with that person. And in this case, being a death doula, I can imagine you have to be okay to work not only with the person who's dying, but with their family as well, because there can be a lot of things that can come into play. And what a beautiful thing to be also honest with yourself as the person who gives the service, and then with the people around you. So I can imagine, Mona, that you've had a lot of profound, touching moments in your career as a death doula. Can you share one of those moments with us, something that just stayed with you?
Um, every time you work with somebody that's dying, it is a profound moment. So it wouldn't be fair for me to single one particular experience out. They are all profound. And you mentioned earlier on holding space. That is one of the most important things a doula will ever do, is hold space. That is the most important, and to know when to keep quiet and just to step back and to let things happen. Yeah, I can't give you, I'm sorry, I cannot give you
No,
any one moment. Every one of them have been profound. Every one of them.
Oh, and that's so beautiful. And I can imagine that you have lots of stories, and that's a different thing that you probably share with your students. So if anyone who's watching us, you feel called to connect with Mona, please do. I will put in the description of this video how you can connect with her. So yeah, just check out her information, her profile, her course. And she's the most beautiful soul who'll be there guiding you through this journey. So Mona, as a death doula and as someone who introduced this field to South Africa so much, what are your views in the future? How will this grow, in your country, or how do you visualize this developing in your country going forward? The care at the end of life.
Right from the beginning, when Sacred Dine was established, I knew that it didn't belong to me. It wasn't mine to keep. It was something that belonged to the universe. I actually get quite tearful when I think about it because it's also the legacy that I will leave behind in this lifetime, and that humbles me. But there are doulas that are ready and prepared to take over when I'm no longer here, when my time comes to go. And yes, Sacred Dying will carry on because it's not a personal thing, it is a universal thing. It's a universal um, calling, it's a universal, what can I call it? Just bringing people together. I just want to talk very quickly because I know you want to close the interview soon. But in the 1900s, the late 1900s, it was still, death was such a sacred thing to people. Children were allowed to go into the dying person's room and spend time with them. And then in the 20th century, we handed death over to the medical fraternity. And that is so sad. People don't even realize that it's happened that way. And it's time to stand up and to take it back and say that this is our loved one and we want to deal with it differently, the way it used to be. And if that's all I can teach one person, and that one person runs with that same image, Sacred Dying will still go on for many, many years.
Wow, this is so beautiful and magical. Thank you so much for this. If you were to share with us the last thoughts, any words that you want to share to those or with those who are thinking about learning more what a death doula is.
Okay, what I say to people that contact me and they say, I've been thinking of becoming a death doula, or I would like to know more about becoming a death doula. You've contacted me, and you can run, but you cannot hide. If the calling is there, it's going to keep coming back. And whether you stand up now and you say, I am ready to serve the dying, or whether you run for the next 6 months or the next year, sooner or later, if you are called to the work, you will do the work.
This is so beautiful. Thank you so much, Mona. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us today. And thank you to everyone who has watched this episode. If you liked it, please like it, subscribe to the channel, check out the description of this video to know how you can connect with Mona and myself. And thank you again for being part of this space. Stay tuned for next episodes. Bye-bye.